In our today's class, we shall study about the meter bridge, which is one of the application of Wheatstone's bridge. In our previous class, we studied about Wheatstone's bridge, which is nothing but an electrical circuit or electrical network which is used to find unknown resistance in terms of other three resistances. In our today's class, we shall study about the practical application of the Wheatstone's bridge. Meter bridge is nothing but a practical model of finding out once again the unknown resistance. So it is nothing but the practical model of finding unknown resistance. Okay. Then on what principle it works? It works on the principle of balanced Wheatstone's bridge. Balanced Wheatstone's bridge. Now, here the entire diagram is identical to the Wheatstone's bridge circuit. That means, first of all, let us know the description of the meter bridge. Meter bridge consists of two L-shaped metallic strips made up of copper. These two L-shaped metallic strips are fixed on a long wooden board. So there will be one long wooden board over which the L-shaped strips are fixed. So this long wooden board will be of length slightly greater than 1 meter. So over this wooden board, two L-shaped strips, and between these two L-shaped strips, one more rectangular strip, once again made up of copper, is fixed. This is fixed to create two gaps, left gap and as well as right gap. In the left gap, we connect one unknown resistance. Let R be the unknown resistance which is to be determined. Whereas in the right gap, we connect a resistance box where we can vary the resistance. So right gap, variable resistance box, whereas in the left gap, unknown resistance. That means we connect a wire. It may be a constant wire, it may be a manganese wire, or even it may be a copper wire. But usually we make use of alloy wire like constant manganese or nichrome. In the right gap, the resistance box, we can vary the resistance. That means we can introduce a suitable value of resistance into the circuit in this right gap. A wire of length 1 meter, this wire is made up of either constant or manganese. A wire of length 1 meter is stretched tightly between two terminals on L-shaped strip. You can notice the terminals here. These are the terminals, these are the terminals, these are the terminals. So these terminals are provided for electrical connection. So therefore, a wire of length 1 meter is stretched tightly between the two terminals. And this wire is certainly made up of either constant or manganese. Then, between these two terminals, a cell and a plug key are connected in series. So here, AB is the meter bridge wire of length 1 meter. Then let us consider this point as C, that means this terminal as C. If this terminal is considered as C, then these two terminals will be also considered as C only, because all these terminals are present on the same strip. common strip for all these terminals. So if this is taken as C, then even these two terminals should be treated as the point C itself. Similarly, since I consider this point as C or this terminal as A, these two terminals should be once again considered as A itself, because again all these terminals are present on the same common strip. Once again, if this is B, this is also B. Okay. Now, meter bridge wire of length 1 meter is tied tightly between A and B. Then between A and B, cell and plug key are connected. Then from the terminal C, we connect a current sensitive device known as galvanometer. So one of the terminal of the galvanometer should be connected to the terminal C, whereas the other terminal of the galvanometer should be connected to a jockey. We call this as jockey. So pencil jockey. Okay. Now it is nothing but a piece of metal over which some insulating handle is provided. Suppose if I consider this entire circuit, it is found that this circuit is identical to Wheatstone's bridge. Let us compare this now. So we know that Wheatstone's bridge consists of 4 resistors connected in the form of quadrilateral. Okay. So this is A, this is B, this is C, this is D, and this is galvanometer. This resistance is considered as P and this as Q, and this will be R, and finally this will be the resistance S. Now look here, let us try to compare this Wheatstone's bridge circuit with this meter bridge circuit. If this is A, this is also A, and if this is C, this is also nothing but C. Now, or else I can also consider like this. If I consider this as B and this as C, just to match with this. If this is A, why this is A? Because this terminal is treated as A. If this is B, certainly this is also B. If this terminal is considered as C, then this will be treated as C itself. Now just look at here. Between A and B, one resistance is connected. What is that resistance? R. So instead of writing this resistance as P, I write this resistance as R. Between B and C, because if this is B, this is also B. Between B and C, one more resistance, and I call this resistance as S. That means between B and C, one more resistance is there. What is that resistance? Q is there. Instead of Q, I consider this resistance as S. So now this will become P and this will become Q. We can interchange the resistance also. So overall, between A and B, one resistance is there, or between B and C, one more resistance is there, that is nothing but S. What about the resistance P and resistance Q? Look here, if I consider this point as D, then between A and D, this length of wire will have some resistance, and we know that resistance is directly proportional to length of the wire. So therefore, this length of wire from A to D will have its own resistance, and I call that resistance as P. Okay, between A and D, what is there? P is there. Then remaining length of the wire, that is between the D and C, it will have its own resistance, and let us consider that resistance as Q. That means DC equal to Q, AD equal to P. AD equal to P, DC equal to Q. So 4 resistors are said to be connected according to the Wheatstone's bridge in this meter bridge. Next, between B and D, what is there? Galvanometer is there. Between B and D, a galvanometer is connected. Then between the point A and C, a cell and a plug key are connected. Between the point A and C, a cell and a plug key are connected. So this is nothing but the practical application of the Wheatstone's bridge. Why it is called as meter bridge? Why meter bridge is called so? Meter bridge is called so because the length of the wire used between the two terminals A and C, totally it is equal to 1 meter. So since the length between A and C is equal to 1 meter, the name meter bridge is used. So this is all about the construction of the meter bridge. Now let us understand how it works. That means how to determine the unknown resistance R. So let us assume this as unknown. Okay. What we do means we insert the key. If we insert the key, then the current starts flowing. Let I be the current which is drawn from the cell soon after inserting the key. Now this current flows in the entire circuit and it branches out into different resistances. That means the main current I splits into different parts. You can also understand from here. I is the main current, I1, I2, here current will be Ig and here current is I3 and this current is I4. So the main current I splits into I1, I2, I3, Ig. Once again here at this point the main current flows out from the point C. Insert the key and check the circuit for its correctness. How do you check the circuit for its correctness? All that we need to do is just, if you imagine this pen itself as a pencil jockey, then make the contact of the jockey at the end A of the wire. So when we do so, what happens means the pointer in the galvanometer shows deflection in one direction. Suppose if this is the galvanometer, at the center it is marked as 0, on either side of 0 30 divisions will be there. Suppose now if this is the pointer, on making the contact of jockey at the point A or at the end A of the wire, if the pointer shows deflection in one direction, then the same jockey should be made contact at the end C of the wire. Then what happens? The deflection will be in the opposite direction. So at end A, deflection will be in one direction, at end C, the deflection will be in the opposite direction. So if we get opposite deflection, that means right and left deflection on either side of 0, when we make the contact of jockey at the end C and as well as at the end A, then the circuit is said to be correct. On making the contact at the end A and as well as at the end C, if we get the deflection only on one side, instead of getting the deflection on either side of 0, if I get both the deflection only on one side like this, then it means that something is wrong with the circuit. Then we have to rectify or we have to correct the circuit, and this is because of some loose contact between the terminals and the wires. There may be loose contact between the terminal A and C, and there may be loose contact of the terminal B and as well as also of the terminal C. So we have to tighten everything, then the circuit becomes okay. When once the circuit becomes okay, then the deflection will be on either side. So this is how we must ensure the correctness of the circuit before going into the experiment. Now what is that we have to determine by making use of meter bridge? By making use of meter bridge, look here, we are going to determine the unknown resistance. So to determine the unknown resistance R. Okay. Now once we ensure that circuit is correct, then what we have to do means introduce some resistance in the right gap. Just unplug this, unplug suitable resistance. Usually in the resistance box, different value of resistances are installed inside the box. So these are all nothing but the plugs. That's why we call this as plug type resistance box. It will be marked like this: 2, 2, 5, 10. That means just if I remove this plug, then 2 ohm resistance is said to be introduced in the right gap. Suppose if I remove both these plugs, then 2 plus 2, 4 ohm resistance is said to be introduced in the right gap. Even if I remove this plug also, then 5 plus 2 plus 2, 9 ohm resistance is said to be introduced. So this is how we can vary the resistance in the resistance box. Now what we do means we introduce one suitable resistance. So for example 2 ohms or 3 ohms or 5 ohms by removing the plug from the resistance box. Once we introduce the suitable resistance, then its value is said to be known. Suppose if I remove the first plug, which is of 2 ohms, then what is the value of resistance? The value of resistance will be 2 ohm. Or if I remove one more plug, then the value of resistance will be 4 ohm. Let us introduce like this a suitable resistance in the right gap. Now let us move the jockey slowly on the wire. Without pressing too much on the wire, move the jockey from end A to the end C on the wire. If we move the jockey, then what happens? At one of the point, what happens means the pointer in the galvanometer shows 0 deflection. When once the pointer in the galvanometer shows 0 deflection, this happens when we move the jockey on the wire slowly from end A to end C. At one of the point, the galvanometer shows 0 deflection, means null deflection. When once you get null deflection in the galvanometer, then the entire meter bridge is said to be balanced. This we have already understood in case of Wheatstone's bridge also. When the galvanometer shows 0 deflection, we say that whole bridge is balanced. Same situation can be created in this also in a simplest way by introducing suitable resistance and moving the jockey, get the null deflection point. Now D becomes the null deflection point. Okay, so null deflection point or null point. Now measure the length from A to D. How do you measure the length? Below the wire, usually a scale is installed parallel to the wire like this. So there will be a scale below this wire. So a scale is fixed parallel to the wire below it. Then with the help of this scale, measure this length. Now let this length, that means from A to D, be equal to L. Then what will be the remaining length? It will be 1 minus L, because the total length is 1 meter. From 1 meter you subtract L, then the remaining length will be 1 minus L. Now when once the bridge is balanced, then we can use the balanced condition. What is the condition for balance? P by Q equal to R by S. This is the condition for balance. What is the value of P? The value of P is nothing but equal to L, because resistance is directly proportional to length. So Here I can replace P. What is P? P equal to AD equal to L. Then what is the value of Q? Q equal to DC, which is equal to 1 minus L. From D to C, the length is 1 minus L. Q equal to DC, which is equal to 1 minus L. Okay. So if I substitute that in this equation, then what do I get? For P, I write L. For Q, I substitute 1 minus L. This will be equal to R by S. Which is the unknown resistance here? R is the unknown resistance, because now here S acts as a standard resistance. Why it acts as a standard resistance? Because we are introducing certain fixed resistance. We are not going to change the value of resistance. When once we introduce some resistance, it remains to be fixed for one particular balancing length. Therefore, this acts as a standard resistance which is known. Which is the unknown resistance here? R is the unknown resistance. So to find the unknown resistance, cross multiply. Then what do we get? We get that R is equal to S into L divided by 1 minus L. So with the help of scale, we measure the length L, and S is already known because we introduce some resistance. Then the unknown resistance R can be calculated by substituting for S and by measuring the length L. So this is how we can determine the unknown resistance by making use of meter bridge. Now the same equation can also be written in one more form. What does that means? R equal to S L divided by 100 minus L. What is the difference between this equation and this? In this equation, length is measured in terms of meter. When you measure the length in terms of meter, then this formula should be used. If we measure the length in terms of centimeter, then this is the suitable formula. We have to use this formula. So that's the only difference. This, when we measure the length in terms of meter, and this equation when we measure the length in terms of centimeter. Okay. So this is how unknown resistance can be determined by making use of meter bridge. Then if you want to know the application of the meter bridge, see the practical application of Wheatstone's bridge is meter bridge. Then what is the application of meter bridge itself? Meter bridge is used to find not only the unknown resistance, it is also used to verify the law of combination of resistors in series and parallel. So to verify the law of combination of resistors in series and parallel. Okay. So here, look here, unknown resistance can be determined. That is one of the application of meter bridge. And one more application is by combining two resistors in series. Suppose if this is one resistance and if I connect one more resistance R dash, then what is the effective resistance of this series combination? That can also be determined by making use of meter bridge. Not only that, instead of connecting R dash in series, I can connect R dash in parallel. Then what is the effective resistance of these two resistances connected in parallel? That can also be determined with the same device, meter bridge. So these are the two applications of meter bridge. Suppose if I consider one circuit which consists of a resistor of resistance R whose ends are connected to a cell through a plug key, or even directly it can be connected. Now what happens? Current starts flowing through this resistor. Let I be the current. say for example, I consider the current that's flowing through this resistor as equal to 2 amps. 2 amp of current is flowing. Corresponding to this 2 amp of current, let the potential difference between the two ends of the resistor be 3 volt. So remember, for a current of 2 ampere, what's the potential difference? Potential difference equal to 3 volt. Suppose if I want to measure the potential difference across the resistor R practically, then what I have to do means I have to connect one voltmeter. How do we connect the voltmeter? Voltmeter is always connected in parallel with the resistor, not in series. Only ammeter will be connected in series with the resistor. To measure the potential difference across or between 2 points, between same 2 points, we have to connect the voltage measuring device known as voltmeter. Now what happens if I connect voltmeter? It has to read 3 volt. It has to show us 3 volt. But actually this voltmeter is not going to read 3 volt. It reads less than 3 volt. Why it is so? Here what happened means the current 2 ampere after reaching this point, it splits into 2 parts. One part of the current flows through this wire I1, then another part or remaining part of the current flows through this voltmeter branch. Let us call this as I2. Now what happens? The voltmeter is going to draw some small amount of current. Out of 2 ampere, if the voltmeter draws a current of let us say 0.3 ampere, then remaining current that flows through the resistor R, that is I1, it will be equal to 1.7 ampere, because 1.7 plus 0.3 will become equal to 2 ampere. See, without this voltmeter, entire current, 2 amps of current directly flow through the resistor. But soon after connecting the voltmeter, it also draws some amount of current. As a result of that, the main current decreases. When once the main current decreases, the main potential difference to be measured, which is equal to 3 volt, it also decreases. Now for a current of how much that is flowing through R? 1.7 ampere, the potential difference is not equal to 3 volt. Okay, it is not equal to 3 volt. It may read a different potential. Say for example, V may be less than 3 volt. Why it is so means, this voltmeter is not an ideal voltmeter. An ideal voltmeter is one which does not change the main potential difference. Since this voltmeter changes the main potential difference, this cannot be considered as an ideal voltmeter. And usually ideal voltmeter will have infinite resistance. But practically it is not possible to design a voltmeter of infinite resistance to make it as an ideal voltmeter. So without this it will be 3 volt. With this voltmeter it will be less than 3 volt. Then there is no point in using the voltmeter to measure the 3 volt, because it reads less than 3 volt, then it is of no use. So in such a case, to measure the actual voltage, actual potential difference or actual voltage between the two ends of the resistor, what we do means we make use of one more device known as potentiometer. So this device can be used to measure the actual potential difference between the two ends instead of voltmeter. Why means potentiometer does not draw any current. So potentiometer, I explain about it, it does not draw any current, but still it reads the actual potential difference of 3 volt. So instead of voltmeter, if I connect the potentiometer, just I am writing the block diagram. Potentiometer Now this potentiometer is able to read 3 volt. Okay, that means this potential meter will act like an ideal voltmeter, though its resistance is not equal to infinity. How can it read 3 volt? Because it does not draw too much of current from the main current. It doesn't draw the current. Since it doesn't draw the current, the potential difference 3 volt remains as it is. This is how the potentiometer is able to read the actual voltage. Then what is meant by potentiometer? Potentiometer is a device used to measure the unknown EMF of a cell or potential difference between any two ends of a resistor or a conductor in a circuit. So this is about the potentiometer, device used to measure the unknown EMF of a cell, any cell, and also used to determine the potential difference between any two ends of a resistor in the circuit. Then what is the principle on which this potentiometer works? Potentiometer works on the principle that potential difference between any two ends of a resistor is directly proportional to length of the resistor. Or I can also put this in another form. If I consider a wire of certain length, say for example, I choose 2 points A and B, let L1 be the length between the 2 points A and B. Okay. Now the potential difference between the two ends of this wire, I consider that as V1. Now in this case, according to this principle, the potential difference between any two ends of the wire, which is taken as V1 in this case, should be directly proportional to the length. Similarly now, if I consider the potential difference between two more points, let us say B and C, let the length between B and C be equal to L2. Now the potential difference between the two ends B and C, let us call that as V2. This V2 now should be proportional to L2 only. Okay. So that means as the length increases, potential difference also increases. Suppose if you want to find the potential difference between A and C, what is the potential difference between A and C? It is nothing but V1 plus V2. V1 plus V2. Then according to the principle, it should be directly proportional to length between A and C. What is the length between A and C? It is equal to L1 plus L2. In general, I can write like this. So potential difference between any two ends of a wire or a resistor is directly proportional to the length between the two ends of the wire. So this is the principle on which a potentiometer works. Potential difference between any two ends of a wire is directly proportional to length between the same 2 points. You can also write like this, between the same two ends of the wire or between same 2 points of the wire. Here in this circuit, I have written the potentiometer. Remember, potentiometer means only this much, only this part. Look here. So right from ear to ear, let us call this as point A, this as point B. What is its description about its construction? Potentiometer consists of wire of length 1 meter which has high resistivity and low temperature coefficient of resistivity. Remember, high resistivity and low temperature coefficient of resistivity. Which are those wires having high resistivity and low temperature coefficient of resistivity? Usually those wires are nothing but constant manganese. That means these are nothing but alloys. Wire of length 1 meter, several pieces are taken and these wires are arranged parallel to each other on a long wooden board. Look here, this is one wire of length 1 meter, one more wire, wire 3, wire 4, wire 5, wire 6. Like this we can arrange any number of wires parallel to each other on a long wooden board of length slightly greater than 1 meter, just as we have seen in case of meter bridge. Remember, even in meter bridge also, only this much is considered as meter bridge. L-shaped strip, one rectangular strip fixed between two L-shaped strip along with a wire of length 1 meter tied or stretched tightly between the two terminals on the L-shaped strip. The entire thing is fixed on a long wooden board. Only this much is known as meter bridge, and all this strip consists of terminals. Okay. L-shaped strip, one rectangular strip and a wire of length 1 meter, below which there will be a scale fixed parallel to the wire. So only this part is considered as meter bridge. Similarly, here in case of potentiometer, all these are the additional things we are connecting, because potentiometer consists of only several number of wires each of length 1 meter arranged parallelly. But these wires are connected in series. How? By means of copper strip. These two wires are connected by means of one copper strip. Again, these two wires are connected by means of one copper strip. So it goes like this. So finally, we are left with only the two ends of the wire A and B. So this is only the potentiometer, wires with copper strips on a long wooden board. Now, between the two ends, what we do means we connect a plug key, a cell, plug key, and as well as rheostat. Or else this can also be considered as battery, which provides the main current to the entire circuit. And this is plug key and this is rheostat. Usually rheostat will have three terminals: terminal 1, terminal 2, terminal 3. Two terminals at the bottom and one terminal at the top. So therefore, out of three terminals, only two terminals are made use and one terminal is left without being connected. That means one terminal is left dummy as it is without making any connection to it. So one top terminal and one bottom terminals are connected. This is how we make use of rheostat. Rheostat acts like a variable resistor and it is used to vary the current in the circuit. If I want to vary the current, main current, then we operate the rheostat. That's the purpose of using rheostat, just to vary the current in the circuit. Now, to the end A, two terminals, positive terminals of the two cells of different EMFs. One cell having EMF E1, another cell having EMF E2 are connected. How they are connected? The positive terminals are connected together to a common point A, whereas the negative terminals of the two cells are connected to two-way plug key. Look here, this is one-way plug key. In one-way plug key, only two terminals will be there. Whereas in two-way plug key, there will be three terminals. So this portion will act as one plug key and this portion will act as another plug key. So it consists of three terminals, terminal 1, terminal 2, terminal 3. So the negative terminals of the cells are connected to the two terminals 1 and 2 of a two-way plug key. So two-way plug key. Now from the terminal 3 we connect one galvanometer to one of the terminal of the galvanometer. Then to the free end of the galvanometer, what we do means we connect one jockey, pencil jockey. Okay. Now the circuit gets completed. What is that we can do with the potentiometer? That means what is that we can determine with the potentiometer? Using potentiometer, we can compare the EMFs of the two cells. That is what we are going to explain now. If you want to compare the EMFs, then circuit connections will be like this. If you want to find the internal resistance of any one of the given cell, then we modify this circuit slightly. So that we will understand little later. The first thing is to compare the EMF of the two cells. Now, let us conduct one experiment to compare the EMF of two given cells by making use of potentiometer. We know that according to the principle of potentiometer, potential difference between the two ends of a given wire is directly proportional to length. V equal to phi into L. What is phi? Phi is a constant, and we call this constant as potential gradient or potential drop per unit length. That means, suppose if the wire is of length, let us say 1 meter from this end to this end, if its length is 1 meter, then for this 1 meter, whatever potential difference that exists, that is known as potential gradient. From this equation, look here, I can write the expression for the potential gradient phi as equal to potential per unit length. So every 1 meter of wire possesses how much of potential difference across its ends. That is termed as potential gradient or potential drop. Drop means nothing but difference. Potential drop means potential difference. Okay, now come back to this circuit. Now what we do means, first I am going to unplug the second cell. That means I remove the key between the terminal 3 and terminal 2. If I do so, then the second cell of EMF E2 do not get introduced into the circuit. All that I do is I introduce only the first cell, because this battery supplies the main current to the circuit. Okay, so unplug this, whereas connect these two. Now I connect these two out by inserting the key. Then what I do means, I move the jockey slowly on the wire from A to B. So when we move, if you imagine this pen itself as a jockey, if I move the jockey slowly over the wire, then even after reaching this point, if the galvanometer doesn't show zero deflection, then what I have to do means, I have to shift the jockey from this wire to this wire, then continue moving like this up to this point. While moving like this up to this point, at some point, at one of the point on the second wire, if we get zero deflection, then this length will become balancing length. I repeat again, move the jockey slowly from the end A of the wire. Even after reaching this end of the first wire, if we do not get zero deflection, then slowly transfer the jockey to the next wire and move it slowly like this. While moving slowly like this over the second wire from this end to this end, at one of the point while moving the jockey we get zero deflection. When once we get zero deflection in the galvanometer, then now this length, that means from A, I mark this point as N1. N1 is the zero deflection point or null deflection point. This length of wire plus this length will become the balancing length. This length is already equal to 1 meter. 1 meter plus this. 1 meter extra this length, that will become balancing length. So what I write means, according to the principle, let V1 be the potential difference. I use the subscript 1 to represent that I am making use of first cell only. I have not connected the second cell into the main circuit because I have removed this key. I have removed the key. Connection will be there, but this key is kept open. V1 is proportional to balancing length. What is that balancing length? AN1. AN1. Okay, I can also write this as E1. Instead of E1, I write this as E1. Proportional to what is AN1? AN1 is taken as L1. So the length from the point A to the null deflection point N1 is equal to L1. Now what I do means, next I remove this key. I keep this cell open now. Now I connect these two. That means I insert the key here. This is removed. So this is kept open. Again now move the jockey from the end A itself. So slowly move the jockey from the end A. Then up to this point, if there is no deflection, shift the jockey to the next wire. Again continue to move. You do not get the balance point once again at N1 itself because we have changed the cell and the EMF of this cell is different. So therefore we do not get the balance point at N1 itself. So keep moving the jockey over the second wire. Then even up to this point, if you do not get the deflection, null deflection, shift the jockey to the third wire. Keep moving like this. So in zigzag path, we have to move the jockey like this. All according to the wire connection. The wire is connected between A and B along zigzag path. So move like this, shift to the next wire, move like this, shift to the next wire, move like this. So while moving like this on one of the wire at one of the point, say for example somewhere here N2, I get null deflection. So let us now consider this point as the second null point corresponding to the second cell only. Now what will be the total length now? The total balancing length is from A to N2. That means 1 meter plus 1 meter 2 meter plus 1 meter 3 meter, then 1 plus 1 2 plus 1 3 meter, then plus 1 4 meter, then extra 1 1 1 1 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 4 plus this portion totally becomes the balancing length L2. So I can write now with respect to second cell V2 proportional to AN2 or E2 proportional to L2 because AN2 is equal to L2. Now compare the EMFs of the two cells. How do you compare? Just divide E1 by E2. This is the comparison. Comparison means ratio of EMF of two cells. So this can also be written as, look here, E1 equal to phi into L1, and this can be written as E2 equal to phi into L2. This phi is nothing but potential gradient. It remains same. Whatever may be the EMF of the cell, whatever may be the balancing length, this potential gradient remains to be same. It's not going to change. So therefore E1 by E2 means phi into L1 divided by phi into L2. Phi and phi gets cancelled. Now what is left? E1 by E2 is equal to L1 by L2. So this is how we can compare the EMF of the two given cells. L1 we measure by making use of scale. Usually one scale will be provided parallel to the wire. So like this. Okay. With the help of the scale, we measure L1 and also L2. Then if we divide these two lengths, we get the EMF ratio of the two cells. Also we can find the EMF of one of the cell. Suppose if EMF of first cell is known, then EMF of second cell can be determined. Or else if EMF of second cell is known, if E2 is known, then we can determine E1. So from this equation, either we can compare the EMF of two cells or we can find the EMF of any one of the cell, provided if EMF of one cell is given. If EMF one cell is given, then another cell EMF can be determined. Already we understood how to compare the EMF of two cells or to find the EMF of a given cell using the potentiometer device. Similarly now, in this experiment also, same potentiometer is used with slightly modified circuit. The modification is done in this part. What we have done means, a cell of internetance R, which is to be determined, is connected in parallel with a resistance box and a plug key. So cell and these two are connected in parallel between these two common points. Now, one of the common point of this parallel combination is connected to the terminal A of the potentiometer. This part remains as it is, no change. It is same as that of previous experiment. Only changes we are doing is with respect to this region. Now, another common point of this parallel combination, which is this, it is connected to one of the terminal of the galvanometer. Now, the other terminal of the galvanometer is connected to a jockey. So, this portion is nothing but jockey. The arrow in which I have represented here indicates the pencil jockey, which is used to slide or which is used to move over the wire. Now, how to conduct or how to carry out the experiment means, first what I do means, I keep this K2 open. Okay. Then I close the key K1. We call this as auxiliary circuit or driving circuit because it drives the current into the potentiometer device. So, auxiliary circuit or driving circuit, only this part from ear to ear, from A to B. This part is considered as auxiliary circuit, whereas this part is considered as the potentiometer, whereas this we consider as secondary circuit. We can also consider this as primary circuit instead of auxiliary circuit, and we consider this portion as secondary circuit. Then once we close the key K1, keeping K2 open, then what we have to do means move the jockey from A to B over this wire. That means slide the jockey slowly over the wire without pressing the wire too much. So, after moving to this end, if you do not get null deflection, shift the jockey to the next wire, continue moving. Again, even at this point, if you do not get null deflection in the galvanometer, shift the jockey to the next wire, slide it over the wire smoothly. Now, up to this point, if we move the jockey, say for example at this point, if we get null deflection in the galvanometer, I call this as N1. N1 is the null deflection point or balance point. Balance point or null deflection point means galvanometer shows zero deflection. Now, you measure the length from where to where? From A to N1. That gives the balancing length L1. So, according to the principle of potentiometer, now I write like this: E is proportional to A N1. That means E is proportional to L1 because A N1 equal to L1. Or this E can be written as equal to phi into L1, where phi is known as potential gradient. That means potential difference is directly proportional to the length of the wire. So that is the principle of potentiometer. Next, what I do means, when once we do not close this, if K2 is kept open, then this cell do not get introduced into the circuit. Only thing is, this cell keeps passing the current into the circuit. Okay, so this cell keeps passing the current into the circuit. Therefore, whatever deflection we are getting here in this galvanometer, when K2 is open, it is just because of the cell or the battery. Initially, when K2 is open, current is drawn out only from this battery, that means from the primary circuit. Now, when we close this K2, current is also drawn from this cell along with the battery of the primary circuit. Now again move the jockey over the wire slowly from A to B. That means slide the jockey on the wire like this, keep sliding like this all along zigzag path at one of the points, say for example at this point N2, we get the balance point. Okay, so let us consider N2 as balance point. Balance point means zero deflection. The galvanometer shows zero deflection. Now from A to N2 length, that is 1 meter plus 1 meter, 2 meter plus 3 meter plus 4 meter plus from ear to ear extra 1 meter, 1 meter, 1 meter, 1 meter, totally 4 meter. From this end to this end, whatever length we get, that should be added along with 4 meter. That is nothing but AN2. So now since the current is drawn from the cell, then the potential difference between the two terminals of the cell is called as terminal potential difference. I write like this: terminal potential difference V, according to the principle of potentiometer, is directly proportional to AN2. That is V equal to AN2. What is AN2? AN2 is nothing but L2. AN2 equal to L2. So this can be written as phi into L2, where phi is the potential gradient. So here I used E because it is EMF, open circuit. Here I use V because terminal potential difference, since the circuit is closed. That means K2 is also closed. Now let us divide E by V. That means if I call this as equation 1 and this as equation 2, then equation 1 divided by equation 2 implies E by V. E is equal to phi into L1 divided by phi into L2. So phi and phi gets cancelled. Then what do we get now? We get that E by V equal to L1 by L2. See, we know one equation between the EMF, current and as well as internal resistance. What is that equation? I equal to E over R plus R, where R is the resistance. What is that resistance? The resistance that is introduced in the resistance box. When we close the key, then suitable resistance should be introduced in order to get the second null deflection. Otherwise, we do not get null deflection. So, remove a plug key of suitable resistance value so that much of resistance get introduced into the circuit, and let that resistance be equal to R. Whatever plug I remove, then the resistance corresponding to that plug is considered as equal to R. So R is the resistance that is introduced into the circuit, and small r is the internal resistance of the cell, which is to be determined. Now if you cross multiply this, then what do we get? We get E equal to I into R plus R. Okay. Then we also know that V equal to I into R. Now if I substitute these two into this equation, what do I get? I R plus R divided by I into R equal to L1 by L2. I and I gets cancelled. Then what is left? R plus R divided by R equal to L1 by L2. Now split it and divide it separately. R by R plus R by R equal to L1 by L2. R and R gets cancelled. What is left? 1 is left. Okay, let us write here. So here 1 is left. 1 plus small r by capital R is equal to L1 by L2. Shift this 1 to this side. Then R by R is equal to L1 by L2 minus 1. Plus 1 becomes minus 1 after shifting this to right hand side. Now we need to find only R. What is R? R equal to capital R L1 by L2 minus 1. So this is the expression for the internal resistance of a given cell. So we will be knowing the value of R from the resistance box. Then we measure L1 and L2, balancing length L1 and balancing length L2 by making use of scale. By substituting for L1, L2 and R, we can calculate the internal resistance of the given cell. So this is how the potentiometer can be used to determine the internal resistance, also to compare the EMF of the two cells. So that completes this third chapter. In our next class, we start a new chapter. So till then, thank you.